You said something today. Donkey Kong 64 with realistic guns and permadeath.
Yes, I did. And no one liked it. And I'm very disappointed because I think there is so much potential to this idea. If you think about Donkey Kong 64, the most fun part about that game is that you can change characters. Some people wouldn't agree, but they are also not real people. The thing about this idea is that if one of your character dies from a Kremlin shooting you with a Glock, like right in the face, when you go to the swap barrel, then there is just an empty spot.
Yeah, the big wheel, the spotlights showing.
There's just so you have to stop at that empty spot and then you move on. And it's Diddy Kong and he's like, oh, yeah!
Fuck
he's
yeah,
really
Diddy
happy
Kong.
about it. Yeah.
So my thought now was, when you said no one liked it, I just imagine you like in a pitch meeting with Nintendo, like a boardroom, just being like, okay, listen, Donkey Kong 64 with realistic guns and permadeath. And Miyamoto is just like, I'm listening.
And then I had nothing else.
He's like, no, that was the pitch. And he's just like, interesting.
Then he pulled the lever and I fell down into the... Welcome back to Tempered Expectation, the Nintendo podcast where we keep our heads cool and our expectations low. I'm Alicia, and this is my lovely co-host, Kiki.
Backrooms.
What does that mean?
That's a deep reference to Yetter Mars. We're not talking about Tezuka again today.
Did we do that last time?
We mentioned it last time.
Like, I don't remember. Like, last time, it's just a haze afterwards. I don't remember anything I said.
One thing I remember last time, the last thing we said last episode, was... maybe next episode, they will have announced the Switch 2.
Did they announce the Switch 2, Kiki?
Did they announce anything? Did anything happen in the last month?
Yes, in fact. Our first topic.
Oh, what's that?
The Animal Crossing Lego sets have been announced.
That's pretty cool.
That is, I don't know if it is pretty cool.
The announcement just came out of nowhere. I hadn't really thought about anything with Lego. And then... it's Animal Crossing.
And then it's just here in front of us.
And I was just like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yes. And it's not the big, bulky, weird electronic Marios with the black eyes when he sleeps.
when he's dead. It is basically the sequel to Fabuland.
Yes,
an
Fabuland.
Old classic
like 70s,
Lego
80s
set.
Lego animals. Yeah. I've always contested that the lineage of Animal Crossing can be found in Fabuland and there's like Slovenian families as well, the little like forest animal doll houses. There's also, well, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole about all of that other stuff.
Retro animal civilizations.
Yes, the furry animal kingdom. Anyway, so furries are coming to Lego and the figurines look wrong.
Do you think so?
Yeah, they're not correct.
I'm gonna look at them right now.
They are
right here,
wrong.
right now.
Because they have these small legs, most of them, but they have the regular bodies, so their arms are just really strange, I think.
So, for me, when I saw
Tom Nook is not chubby enough.
Yeah, so when I saw the little teaser 3D animated one, I thought they looked a bit wonky, like the proportions didn't really fit. But now that I see them as these little photographs of the little Lego people, I think it kind of works. It depends. Like, Kappa looks weird. He looks too bulky. His body is too big. Tom Nook, as you said, is a little bit too slim. But Isabelle looks great.
The problem here is that obviously they made Isabelle first and then the other ones were an afterthought. Like, that's just how it goes.
Isabelle has a little Lego skirt. I've never seen that before. Yeah. Mind you, I haven't bought a Lego set in like 20 years, so...
Because you're an adult.
Yeah. Will this be the thing that changes this? Because I have, in the last 10 years or maybe something, is... Every now and again, I go to a store and I see the Lego stuff and I'm like...
Yeah, and you're like, wow.
I like poke at it a little bit and go... Maybe,
but
and then I look at the price tag and I say, absolutely fucking not.
I would never consider buying a Lego set in my entire life.
Alicia is saying this, but just this year, she was so close to buying that big, bulky Bowser set. And I get it. Like, I really do. I loved Lego as a kid. But I used to see for myself now, like, okay, spend a shit ton of money on, like, a big Lego set, and then I build it once.
Yeah,
and
you're
then
never
it's
gonna play with it.
kind of wonky decoration piece that's just gonna gather dust, and you're just gonna feel like,
where would you put these things?
Where would you put it?
Where would you put these things? The same goes for the Bowser. That's why I didn't buy him. Also, he's $200.
He's an expensive boy.
The thing is that Lego is too expensive for what you get. And I think these ones particularly, like, it is a kid's toy. Like, it's not for us. We already have the amiibo.
And that's maybe why I think this has been interesting, because I saw a lot of people going like, this is a bit cramped, a little bit messy, like a lot of stuff, a little bit too toyish. And it's just like, yes, sit down for this. The target audience of this are like 7-year-olds.
I think it's not the same as the Bowser, for example. The Bowser was clearly one of the, you're an adult, you're a nerd. And you're gonna buy this because you have problems. No,
then you have the Mario and Donkey Kong sets.
I'm so feisty today.
The Mario and Donkey Kong sets are more toyish.
Yeah.
And then you have the NES with the TV, the big crescent block that folds out. The big Bowser.
That's for fans.
It was a Pac-Man arcade
old
machine
school,
as well.
Nostalgic assholes.
People who just like building big stuff.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
everyone. I just wanna look. I wanna look at these now. So the first one here is Nook's Cranny and Rosie's House.
Yeah.
And it is like a little Western town. Why am I calling it a Western town? It looks like a little movie set because the house is just the front. It's like a dollhouse. And that's what's so obvious about Animal Crossing, because it just is a big dollhouse. This makes so much sense.
It is an obvious thing to do. I think the houses should probably have been maybe just a little bit bigger than, because they look very cramped, like in that sense, where maybe if you had just a little bit more space. But then again, you have to understand.
It's Lego. You can just make that yourself.
Yeah, but it's also for 7-year-olds, and they don't really
mind you,
care
this
about
set
that
as
stuff.
well. This includes 2 houses, and it's €75. So I would say, like, no, if this is what you get, they don't need to be bigger, because that's pretty big. Does this include like extra windows? That's weird. There's a bike in here. I want to look at the next one, Isabel's house visit, because when I looked at these, this was the one where, like, if I'm gonna buy one, this would be it, because it's the most Animal Crossing-ish
house. Yeah,
it's just a house, and then it's Fauna and Isabel.
And Fauna is good.
2 top tier Animal Crossing characters. What's your favorite character?
All the ones that are not there.
My favorite is Francine.
Yeah, and she's not.
She's actually in the Tom Nook set in Rose's house. She's on the LP cover.
Holy shit. But she's not in it. She's not a playable character, as you say.
Yeah, there's speculation, of course. Not speculation. People is guessing here that they're gonna have little blind bags with these Animal Crossing characters, and that's gonna tank the economy. No, it's not. It's gonna boost the economy, I guess. It's gonna tank society and boost the economy. Because everyone's gonna buy these blind bags to get Raymond. Haven't there been Lego blind? Surely there must have been Lego blind bags before.
Of course there has been. What are you talking about? Like,
I don't know.
lot of them.
As I said, I haven't bought a Lego set in 20 years.
I'm partly curious about this. Of course, it was a different time, but they did make Animal Crossing figurines at one point. And we were talking, of course, about Amiibo.
Yes.
And I'm like, those didn't sell very well. And of course, it was a different time, but I'm a bit curious how this deal came about. I suppose it is a better time for Animal Crossing, but also aiming at kids might be a good choice.
This is definitely a post New Horizons thing. I'm pretty sure Nintendo likely would have been very early on with like, we want to collaborate with Lego. This must be on the top of the list because it is the most Lego-esque thing Nintendo has.
Yeah, it is.
But maybe they needed it to be a bigger brand thing.
Also, I think maybe Nintendo, of course, have more recently what do you say? Like
They're
they
expanding
have
their
expanded a bit
reach.
in terms of how they are promoting their characters. They have the theme park, now they have the Animal Crossing Lego. Before that they had a Mario Lego, and then they had a Mario movie. They probably will make more movies as well. And so it makes sense that they would do this, because Nintendo are trying to become that toy brand, basically. Not on their own, of course, but like in the sense that they are a big brand that people recognize all over the world.
Yeah, it is funny. They tapped into this stuff back in the day as well. They have done weird toy lines and stuff with their characters.
Yeah.
It's like they suddenly realized, like, wait, we can just make billions of dollars on this stuff. And they will.
I think like the Wii U would probably not be the time. You know,
No.
if we're talking 10 years ago, that would probably not be the time for this stuff. But the Switch has been such a success for them that the Nintendo brand is so strong compared when you left off on the Wii and continued with the Wii U.
One thing I'm interested in is how this is aimed at kids, clearly. It is not some Lego ideas thing for adult fans. No, this is aiming at the regular stuff, the core Lego brand for the kids.
Yeah.
Are kids super into Animal Crossing, or is this like an attempt to get kids more into Animal Crossing?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Because I'm thinking, like, if this is a thing now, is Animal Crossing reaching the point of being like a big household thing, or is it already? I don't know. I don't really have a gauge on this.
I think that maybe when we get to, I think a lot of kids probably played it. It's hard to say here in Sweden as well, because I mean, these are games in English. I don't know how kids play these games here necessarily in the same way. Of course, you can still do it. Like, it's not dependent on that stuff. Yeah. But if you play with a parent or something, it will probably be fine. For anyone who doesn't know, games are usually not translated to Swedish, so kids are kind of thrown to the wolves
basically
when it comes to that stuff. We're a small pond to make an entire language for, probably.
Yeah, so we have a pretty much a culture here where like kids stuff are delineated by just language barriers. When you are a kid, there is a lot of stuff you just can't access at all because you don't fucking know what they're talking about. My guess is if they're making this now,
they probably have some idea.
Probably.
Some kind of data on who played it.
If nothing else, I don't even think you need to know what Animal Crossing is to understand the appeal of this. Because
probably
it's cute, it's fun.
It might appeal to girls as well.
I'm looking at these sets, and there's one in particular, the Julian's birthday party, which is just these very pastel-y colors of a party. It looks absolutely horrendous, but I think that's just kind of the girl line thinking.
What is that other Lego brand that is mostly aimed at girls called?
Are we talking from the 90s now, or like current?
No,
current? I don't know.
Current.
Friends?
Friends.
Lego
yes,
Friends.
Friends. Lego Friends. That's what I'm getting the vibes
Yeah, because
of
my mind, Lego for girls is like Paradisa and Scala from the 90s.
Paradisa. That's a million years ago.
Just looking at the full array of the little Lego characters, it's a 5-3 split on girls to boys. The boys are one villager and then Kappa and Tom Nook.
Yes, I think they know.
I think this is leaning more. Oh wait, maybe the horse is a boy. Oh yeah, he is.
He is.
So it's actually a 44. It's called Julian, yeah. So strike that. It's equality town here.
But I still think it will probably appeal more to women and also nerds, of course.
Is that a big twist with Animal Crossing? It's a girl game.
I mean, it is kind of a girl game, like, if you think about it. I know women are really into Animal Crossing.
I heard you were really interested in Switch rumors the last 24 hours.
It's terrible. Like, we just pick up a bunch of videos when we're sitting and eating dinner and just chilling out. And then we just listen to a bunch of videos where people talk about Switch rumors, and it's always shit.
You're fixating on Switch rumors right now.
I am.
Because you don't believe in it, so you're kind of doing it as like a ha ha ha.
Okay, let's be honest here. I could be completely wrong. This is my first thing here. I have no horse in this race. I don't care if the Switch 2 is released earlier or later. Although...
You're simply tempering your expectations.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I am biased.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the Switch 2 to come out right now. Because I don't want to buy another system.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
We
and
will
I
have
don't
bought
like
all
it.
the Animal Crossing sets by then, so we can't afford it.
We can afford it. Like last time when all the other Animal Crossing amiibo came out, I had to throw my wallet into the sun. It's not a good time. And these rumors about the Switch 2, they just keep coming, and they're all bad. And I don't like them.
Are they even rumors? Or are they more like wishful thinking?
Look, there are some rumors. Some of them are really bad, and you can just like throw them away instantly. But then there are, of course, rumors that just come out of things that aren't really anything.
So we talked about this a little bit last time, but that was more like he's talking about Metroid Prime 4's release schedule. So now you're going deep into it. And I know one thing...
Not deep, but, you know.
One thing you wanted to talk about was this official...
It's just a statement.
Statements, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not even a statement about this. So anyway, the point is that... So in October this year, we're in October.
2023.
But earlier in October, there was a Video Games Chronicle article coming up, and they are reporting on a interview that was happening in Nikkei, a financial news thing in Japan.
Sure.
And in this interview, they asked Shuntaro Furukawa, the current president of Nintendo, if the life cycle of the Switch could be expanded further than the 6 years and a half that it's already been available.
Yes.
And yes, obviously.
They're not doing something else tomorrow, literally tomorrow.
Yes, they're not just stopping all of a sudden. And people read this article. A lot of people became a bit worried.
Why were they worried?
Because, oh no, it might not be Switch time yet. Because
we are in Switch times.
Yeah, no, it might not be Switch times 2.
Times 2.
There we go. To this question, Furukawa replied, "We're still working on software for the Switch for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025. So that's all the way.
That's 1.5 years from now.
All the way into 2025. And people kind of got a bit worried about this because it makes it sound like, oh no, aren't we getting the Switch 2? This is really bad. And more importantly, people kind of got hung up on a thing in this article itself, which I thought was a bit funny.
Yes.
Basically, Video Games Chronicles editorialize and they summarize.
Yeah, because it's not like an interview that's just QA. That's
exactly.
format. Sometimes you just make an article about some short statement and you kind of
They just asked the question and he said this. So, Video Games Chronicle themselves, they wrote this as a summarization of what was said. And they say, Furukawa replied that Nintendo would continue to focus on the Switch until the end of the current fiscal year, ending March 2024. Okay? And would continue to support the console with software in the following fiscal year, ending March 2025. So there are also people who read this and were like going really deep in the wording here.
Getting hung up on like the dates?
No, getting hung up on the word focus and support.
Okay.
Because as you see here, what they said here is that they will continue to focus on the Switch ending March 2024. But then they write that they will continue to support the console with software all the way to March 2025. So this means the Switch is of course going to keep getting software. But this confirms that the Switch 2 is coming out next year.
Now, what this confirms is that this page is just
Written.
varying the writing, just using different words and not being repetitive.
So what I was going to say that, but my point is anyway, that people focused into this, that, oh, they say focus. That means that when they say support, that's just after the fact, you know.
Because this is not a direct statement.
No, but
this is a paraphrasing.
Yes, it is but we're not getting to that yet, Kiki. The point is that you see that they say focus. That means that they will focus on it all the way to 2024 in March. That's when Peach comes out. Then we're fucking done. Out of the way with that one. And then they're just gonna release Hey Pikmin or something. Who fucking cares? And then the Switch 2 comes out, like, I don't know, maybe April or something, you know, somewhere around in the year, somewhere. And then they just keep supporting the Switch, because as we all know, that's what happened with the 3DS and so on. You know, they kept supporting it. But as you say, this is just a paraphrasing. It's a summarization. That's not the quote. The quote is, and I'm going to read it again. We're still working on software for the Switch for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025. In the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024, we hope to sustain the momentum of Zelda and the Super Mario Bros. Movie, like we said last time, with focus on the holiday sales season. As for hardware, we will maximize not only new demand for the hardware, but also for those buying second consoles and replacements. So, what's really important to note here, where you need to take all this stuff with a grain of salt, is the fact that this article, this interview, is not about the Switch 2.
No, it's about the Switch.
It's about the Switch. So what's really funny...
This has me confused, because people were really reading between the lines, trying to find...
So people were both really worried that this meant that the Switch 2 isn't coming out until after March 2025, or that this is just all according to plan. This means that they're gonna release it sometime in 2024, and then, of course, they will continue to support it. But yeah, it could mean both of these things. But the important thing to take away from this is that it's not about the Switch 2.
No.
It's about the Switch. He got a question about the Switch, and he answered. And what's really funny about that is that he didn't even have to dodge the question. He just answered it. This is just corporate speech. You shouldn't take anything out of this.
Of course not.
It doesn't mean anything.
They're just asking, are you supporting your console? And it says, yeah,
yes.
We have plans of doing that for the next foreseeable future.
Yes.
So what I'm thinking here is, when you phrase an article this way, where you have an answer from this Nintendo guy, and you're not publishing the answer, you're paraphrasing it for just brevity or whatever. It really is funny, because I'm thinking, my conspiracy brain goes off. Did they just kind of editorialize this in a way to make people look at this and go, does this mean something?
No.
Just to get the clicks?
Actually, no. The interview quotes in question are in this article. It's just that the people reading this, some of them basically went to the summarization part and honed in on it for some reason.
Wait, so it's not like an invisible quote. It's just the one quote we had, and it's just paraphrased before it's there?
Yes. So they paraphrase it before, and then they pull out the quote. But it's like, I don't know why people focused on it in this manner. It's very strange.
Okay.
Yeah. It is just kind of weird that you would go looking at this. But I guess it is like, now when we're looking for breadcrumbs, you know, we're basically like going with a magnifying glass and looking at things really close. Because we need to find Switch 2 stuff somewhere.
I mean, this is just confirmation bias. When you're looking for Switch 2, you will find it.
Yeah, of course. You can see it in the numbers. You know, you can...
Them not talking about Switch 2 confirms Switch 2.
Yeah, basically. Logically, this could mean both things, but it doesn't actually indicate any of it. It just means that either way, the Nintendo Switch will be supported all the way to March 2025. At the very least.
I mean, I was expecting that regardless. I mean, if the new console comes out tomorrow, it's reasonable to assume the Switch will be around for a while.
But that's what I'm talking about. Like, this is corporate speech. This is just him reiterating the corporate line. There is nothing to be gained here. This is what you already knew. Even if the Switch 2 is released next year, they would still support the Switch, most likely.
It's the most polite anti-answer.
Yeah, but it is an answer. I mean, he like I said, he didn't need to dodge the question, not even a little bit.
No.
It's very like, hey, are you planning to support the Switch more? And he said, yes. I just think in general, right now, where we are, like that this is the big one. People made videos, basically, with very clickbaity title, of course, where they kind of like were really like, this is it, guys. This is proving so much about the Switch 2. But it's nothing. And I was thinking partly about this. Don't you think there would be more information about the Switch 2? Like, this is just me speculating. Of course, once again, I'm gonna reiterate. The Switch 2 can come out whenever.
They could announce it tomorrow for
for all we know. For all we know, that could happen. We're not putting we don't have a horse in the race. The thing is,
I mentioned that last episode that there's usually a paper trail.
There's usually something
with new consoles, patents, manufacturing, dev kit. There was some murmuring about dev kits for this, but like more reports of people who have seen something, things are happening.
Well, Nintendo's starting talking about about it themselves, you know, right? Because like if this Switch 2 was getting released in early 2024, for example, I would expect us to know something right now. Something more substantial. Like, I'm not just talking about people are focusing a lot on how powerful it is and stuff like that. Very shallow things. But like technical things outside of that, like controllers, features. I don't think this is just gonna be a straight Switch 2. There's gonna be something here.
The whole thing where it's just like a Switch again that plays the old games, but also new upgrade. Like the PS5 Xbox Series approach, where it's just the same console but more powerful,
but more
cross-gen play, the same again.
I don't believe that. No.
To some degree, I'm expecting having it be a hybrid console. Yes, probably. Backwards compatibility, hopefully.
Yeah.
Of course, it's going to be stronger.
Yeah, but I would expect there to be some feature, like some funky feature, like a camera, maybe something that makes it stick out from the Switch, something that makes it special. So I was thinking, because they're talking a lot about Switch Online, the Switch membership stuff, the Nintendo account, I was thinking like Switch Online has a bunch of old Nintendo games and so on. Like, where do you go next? And people expect, but the GameCube. But from what we're seeing right now, that's not really what's going on. Like, they're re-releasing these games for money because you can sell those games really easily because they are already expensive in the eye of the consumer.
They're taking it really slow with the Game Boy games as well.
Yes, exactly.
Which I think is their future plan.
And my weird-ass speculation is that the next thing we're going to see that's going to be exclusive for the Switch 2, that is going to make you continue supporting them, is Nintendo DS. That's the next step. You know,
so the Switch 2 is going to be able to play DS games.
Exactly.
So what's that? Way or form.
So you came with the name Nintendo Flip.
I did?
Yes, you did.
I don't even remember
basically
that.
Like, my idea was just like, maybe we would have heard about, and this is just me throwing it out. This is not me speculating that this will actually happen. But like, imagine if this was the case, you would have probably heard something about the Switch 2 being able to flip on its side, so you could play, like, have it on the
shmup mode.
Yeah, the shmup mode, basically, which you can do on the regular one, but it's not built in.
No, it's not official.
Exactly. So I was thinking, like, you would hear about those functions, like the really weird things that make it stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that would be like the next step. I think DS is a lot more plausible than, because what else would they do?
Yeah, well,
Right?
it's hard to know.
Yeah, but anyway, that's just me. Like, I would expect us to have heard about specific features, not just, oh, it looks very nice.
I think it's a very safe bet that there will be something new and novel about it, and that's immediately apparent. You need not just the nerds, you need 5-year-olds to see this on TV and go, Mom, I want that. Why do you want it? Because it has a sprongle on it.
Sprongle.
The parents go, can't argue with that, it has a sprongle.
That's what I'm talking about. I would expect us to have at least like a patent or someone coming out with a report where it basically says the next Nintendo system is gonna have a splongo that is detachable from the system.
And everyone goes,
what?
Fuck, Splongo. Oh, that's so brilliant.
Yeah, of course they did.
Ever since the Dreamcast, we've been longing for it. Because this is going to be something that Sega had already done in the 90s, as always.
That's what I would expect. I would expect it to have something. Because people are, of course, just looking at it. So, it's going to be more powerful. Because everyone's just interested in the Switch 2. Because for 2 years or more even, they have been ready to move on. Because they're like, oh, it's so outdated. It's so done. It's so... I can't even play my games without them chugging along. But this is the thing.
It's like people are getting antsy. It's like, if I don't wish for this to happen, it won't happen and Nintendo will die.
Yes.
I need to wish hard on my lucky star every night for the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yes.
Otherwise, we will never see Donkey Kong again.
Yeah. There was a Bloomberg report, though, in May 2023. The display manufacturer Sharp, who also made a computer way back.
The Sharp X68000, which plays the game Geograph Seal. Yes, that's exactly what they're known for.
I guess they made that one. So they reported that Sharp was working on screens for an upcoming handheld console. Okay. So Sharp has worked with Nintendo before, of course. So people instantly started to speculate that this must mean that. Yeah, I think this is a good lead, at least. Like, I think it's one of the stronger leads going into this.
It's not unsubstantial, no.
No, because they said it themselves. They said, we can't talk about it because we're...
NDAing up the ass.
Yeah, we are working on a screen for an upcoming handheld. They can't name who is making it and whatnot. But I think it's important to note that a little bit after this, Sony revealed their PlayStation Portal, which also has an LCD screen, which is what they were making.
Yeah.
So it could be that as well. I don't know if Sharp is making that.
They didn't specify who they made this for. And like even with Nintendo, in the past, reports that Nintendo are making a handheld unit with a screen and everything. And they're just like, oh, it's a Switch Pro or something.
Yeah.
And then it's the Mario fucking Game & Watch.
Yeah, it's a Mario. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it could literally be anything. And I know, it makes sense. Like,
Bandai is coming out of the gates with HD Tamagotchi this year.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that knows the
Digimon, the new Digimon devices. Like, either way, it's not really confirmation of anything because it could literally be anything.
But this is one of those rumors where, like, even if it would be revealed tomorrow that, oh, this is the new Switch 2, it's coming March 2024, this would still not really confirm it or deny it, because we would still be like, so was it the Sony one or the Nintendo one then?
We might get to know if we get to know what screen it is.
This is one of those, in hindsight, we might maybe be able to know.
I guess you would need to have it in your hand, or like confirmation from a factory putting the shit together.
I guess what we do know, in the close future, a handheld device will have a screen.
From Sharp, specifically. Yes, an LCD, to be more specific. It's not gonna put any canes in the wheel, as they say, on this whole idea that the Nintendo Switch 2 is gonna release at the end of 2024, which is basically the original report that people were talking about. That's the thing that people are really expecting, but then people have just moved the goalposts to be closer.
Yeah, they keep moving the goalposts. Remember when Tears of the Kingdom was totally running on Switch 2 hardware, bro? And that they would announce the Switch 2 any day now.
Yeah. No, but this is the thing. This is always happening all of the time. Every time this happens. Do we really have that much proof? Because I think the most proof that we have is basically people saying that, there's a bunch of remakes coming out this year. And in the next year.
Remasters
And it's like,
or ports or whatever.
Yeah, but
old games coming back. Because I've heard people phrase this as like low effort. And, like maybe low budget. It's hard to judge because I don't think they're scratching their asses just kind of half-assing these games, especially with the Mario stuff. It's just to push market the Mario movie, because they are having a great influx on Mario customers.
Yeah, and they're
people wanting Mario games. I think they're maybe overcompensating the Mario milking a little bit. They're getting for every audience.
They're trying to make something for everyone, and in doing that, I think this is mostly showing that they're making games with Mario in them, and a lot of them because of the Mario movie.
Yeah, Mario RPG definitely was in development for a long time. Paper Mario probably too, but Luigi's Mansion is one that I could almost imagine they started on like this year, and just like fucking get something for E3, and then you fucking get it done.
But it's fine. I just think that the proof is not very strong, despite what some people say. I don't think so.
Because the Switch has marked a new approach for Nintendo historically. In the past, they of course had Virtual Console and stuff, but with the Switch, they have been more interested in expanding their library with re-releases. And
that's basically
in the beginning of the Switch, that was either Wii U like straight ports or deluxe or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you did a Splatoon approach of, it's like a sequel. It's Mario Maker 2, same game, more or less.
Yeah, instead of making
you're shuffling them on to the new system, and then the well dried up. There is like 4 unreleased Wii U games now.
Yeah,
Nintendo Land, Xenoblade Chronicles X, like Yoshi's Woolly World. Like, there's not a lot.
They should release Yoshi's Woolly World.
They should.
Save it for the Switch too, so it can look really nice.
Yeah, and then they started getting a little bit into the Wii, and the GameCube, and the 3DS. And I think that's just what they're doing. They are doing what they've been doing previously, but back then with the Wii U, it was more obviously like, they're exporting this.
Yeah.
Now they're having to do a little bit more remastering.
Yeah.
But it's the same idea. You're putting resources into filling up your library with the release schedule. You're always a talking point, so you bring out some old classics.
And that's, of course, not to call them filler or anything like that, because they're not. I think this is I think ever since the Nintendo Switch came out, I think it's clear that this approach, the idea of releasing remakes, remasters, and ports, is a cornerstone of their entire business.
Yeah.
They have always done this to some extent, but I think they have done it so successfully this time around that we see game releases so often that they outshine Microsoft and Sony to such a degree that it's ridiculous. The output Nintendo have thanks to this entire plan, the entire way that they are focusing on this.
More or less like one game amount.
Yes, more or less one game amount.
Since the Switch came out. There's been a little bit like some dry periods, and sometimes you kind of get a double whammy. But by and large, it has been one every month around that. And that's a vast improvement from before.
Yeah, and it makes for a strong library too.
So people then take this whole, there's just a bunch of re-releases because isn't really we're having a new Mario game like this month. This is a Peach game coming. I would even say that some of the remakes, like Mario RPG, I think that's substantial enough to not even be like a problem.
It is substantial, yes.
With being, this is just somebody hashing this out. No, but people are saying that, they're slowing down. The Switch is winding down. They're saying goodbye. Tears to the Kingdom was the swan song.
Never mind the new Mario game that's coming out this month. Releasing the Mario game just a few months before the Switch 2. That's the normal thing to do.
It's so funny because they were saying that last year too, that like, oh, the Switch is winding down. There's just like the one last game, big hurrah, and then we're gonna phase it out. What's really funny, like every direct last year or so, people have been saying before, this is gonna be the last big Switch Direct, the last one with only Switch stuff, and it's just like,
But I think this is the important thing. Like we said, moving the goalpost. The more you say this, every time you say this in front of a Nintendo Direct or something, the more likely you are to be correct, because eventually it's gonna come out, so you're gonna be correct.
You're gonna be like, I called it, guys.
Yeah, I called it, guys. Just 500 tries. It's like, once again, I'm not even saying that it's impossible for it to happen next year. I'm just being skeptical. I think it's especially funny when people keep moving the goalpost like they do. If you look at people talking about the Switch 2 and such, it's just moving. The goalpost is so detached from the ground at this point that it's so like wild.
It just has wheels on it.
Yeah, they put wheels on it so they could like pull it back and forth like...
People are always so like gung-ho about, there's gonna be this, the fucking Switch is dying, it's already dead, fuck it.
But they say this every year.
Yeah, the big danger is that we become too anti-Switch too, that we're like, nah, it's not happening. I'm being very specific. So what I'm saying is basically that's the danger, that we would kind of fall even more into the anti-thinking of that. Here's my suggestion. Yeah. If Nintendo announces a Switch 2 this year, 2023, before New Year's, if they do that, please go and be really funny in the comment sections of this.
Yeah, please say, haha, you're so dumb. Like, I'm not even saying when it's gonna happen or anything. I just think it's extremely funny that this happened last year as well. Have you ever noticed this, dear listeners, that every time right after the summer, people are like, but what is going on? We even made a video about this at one point.
Like, 2020, yeah.
Yeah, imagine where people are just like, damn, we don't know anything about what's coming at the end of the year. It looks like this is all for this year. This is so bad. And then the September Direct happens and we get a bunch of games that are coming out. And then they move it again. And they're like, oh, but we barely know. It's just like the
first half of the year and they're just like, well, where's the next
Mario? We barely know about the next year. We barely know what's happening in the later parts of next year. Dude, this is how they do it.
And then in February, they're just like, oh, it's fucking dead. And it's a direct, we don't know about the summer.
What
about next year?
Nintendo need to announce it. And it's like, yeah, they know. Most commonly, they announce their games close to release.
They are always doing that.
At least that's how they've been doing it lately. There are exceptions to the rule, but generally...
They basically have the thing where they announce a big title that's further off. And you're like, Splatoon 3 in like 1.5 years.
Yeah.
But then mostly it's like, hey, new Mario game in 4 months. You're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, we can't look at this and be like, damn, this is it? No, probably not, dude. Like, what do you mean? Like,
I think in particular with the last two directs actually,
I think they have been
the heavy Mario focus, I think, was because of the movie. I think, in fact, there might be titles coming first half of next year that they haven't shown yet because they wanted to show the Mario stuff.
Yeah, maybe Fire Emblem.
If we're seriously looking at 2 years of discourse around the Switch 2, I think I'm just bailing on Nintendo stuff.
Oh, so no podcast anymore?
No, we're gonna talk about Sega games like we were meant to.
Like we were meant to. That's cool. I was gonna say that I don't think we can draw parallels to previous Nintendo consoles.
No, people love to draw parallels.
The transition between previous consoles, I don't think that we can look at that
But because people are pointed to 2016 as like, oh, they were winding down that year. Yes, because they were making a new console and it's such an extreme case. It is night and day. It is the complete opposites. In 2016, Nintendo are not doing too well. They're just going like, okay, Wii U's done. It's over. It's fucking dead. Don't even buy it.
I wanted to start this one by referencing back to something that happened earlier in 2023.
Okay.
You might remember that Nintendo held a question and answer session for their
shareholders.
Yeah, their backers.
Yeah.
As it's called.
Their patrons.
Their patrons. Where Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa made some comments about the next console. But not in a way that you might expect where it's like, oh yeah, it's coming, guys. No. He was asked if the company had any specific measures in mind for the transition to next generation consoles. And what he said then is that as for the transition from Nintendo Switch to the next generation machine, we want to do as much as possible in order to smoothly transition our customers while utilizing the Nintendo account. Right? So it's basically, you know, a few years before that, they had shown off this little graph where the Nintendo account is going to move into next generation. Very unspecific about what that means. But he also said this, which I think is very, very interesting. So he didn't sound like they were in a hurry to release the next Switch. No. And I think this is correct. I don't think they are in a hurry because what he said, he noted that the strength of the Switch's hardware and software sales in the 7th year beat those of the previous Nintendo consoles.
Like the Wii, like the
Yes, it is
DS.
going very well.
The Wii U has been outpaced in that regard. They didn't have a 7th year.
Yes, and I think this year is going to do really well too. But he also said, and I think this quote is really important, he says, we consider that we have entered Uncharted Territory. And I think this is very true. It's so true.
They just haven't had a success like this before. The closest one was the Wii and the DS, but Switch is at least outpacing it.
Yeah.
The Switch is heading straight towards it being the best-selling console of all time. It is unprecedented. They haven't had this sort of stuff happen before.
No. Of course, they have had successful handheld consoles before that have done really well, like the Game Boy, which had a surprisingly long life cycle.
Yes,
too.
But the Game Boy also had the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Pocket. They kind of
Pokemon that basically
I
gave
think
it
Pokemon
a
was maybe the biggest thing because it also had that was 96 in Japan, but then it came later in the West. I think 98 in the States and 99 over here.
I think it is true what he says, that they are in uncharted territory, and I think that's partly why they are treading carefully, because like we have to look at it from the perspective of how it's different. Like I don't think you can draw parallels exactly because there are so many differences from before. Nintendo with the Switch have left behind the idea of having a split console handheld business.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why the Wii U could actually just kind of coast around in the fucking shit.
Yeah, the house was burning, but the other house was fine.
Yeah, and it has been like that for a while sometimes, you know, while the Nintendo 64 isn't doing very well. At least they had a Game Boy line. Same with GameCube. They had a Game Boy Advance. That's like where we're talking, where it's very different. You can't really compare entirely because the Switch is all they've got. That is the only thing they have going on here. And if they release a Switch 2, and it is very similar to the other one, there are risks here going into the next step.
And I guess that's the big contrast with the Wii U, because the Wii U was burning, like it was just dead. They were like saying, don't even bother, like Paper Mario, fucking Twilight Princess, who cares? Because they were gearing up everything for the Switch, and then you're like, here we go, Switch, let's just clean slate, come on. And they sold like 1 billion units, vast success. The Wii U is just bye-bye, see you never.
See you in trash.
So they just head straight onto the Switch, because of course you do. However, because the Switch is such a massive success, I think it's a very different case of like moving on here, because Nintendo were talking about the NX openly.
We're gonna talk about that later.
You're gonna get they were talking about it openly because they had to. They're just like, okay, guys, we have plans
We're
forward.
not gonna stop.
Yeah, to kind of like ease the stock shareholders being like, guys, what's going on?
Yeah.
Now we're in a situation where like, it's gonna become the best-selling console of all time.
I think, yeah.
Switch 2, I don't think it can reach that level.
No.
So the next console is realistically gonna do not bad,
No.
but worse. Ish. Air quotes. If they do a Switch 2 and it doesn't do good at all, like it just bombs.
Yeah, can they lean back on the Switch again?
I don't know.
Like, that's the hard part, and I think
that's why I think they're really careful about this stuff.
Completely different situation, and I don't think that people are talking about the typical life cycle of a console and so on. But I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily what we're looking at.
Because with Nintendo,
people always talk about how unpredictable they are.
Yeah, but Nintendo, as big as they are and as like ubiquitous with games they can fuck up. And more often than not, they do fuck up.
Yeah.
They are a wild card. They will do something really strange, and it's either gonna make them all the money or none of the money.
Yeah,
they're gambling hard, and that's why even just doing it the safest Switch 2 you could do, which is just Nintendo Switch but more stronger and backwards compatible, that might not be it.
People think
the DS to the 3DS was pretty much that, and
it didn't really work.
And
I think
kind of worked, but not really.
I think people, when they're talking about this, they're of course like, the only thing they want is a stronger one, because that way they can play the Zelda in 60 FPS, and I don't really care about that. I can play that in 30 FPS, it's fine, don't worry about it. And it's okay if it dips a little bit. I love when the frame rate dips, it's really cool.
Then you know it's a real game.
Yeah, then you know it's a real game.
I guess with the whole Switch debacle and people kind of looking for patterns, I mean, no console is ever going to be able to be fully comparable to another one. So all these parallelisms with the Wii U 3DS era were like in 2016 or something, they were really actually winding down. That was like a thing they were most likely doing.
But not just
pointing
that.
to this upcoming year is like, yeah, they're killing the Switch. Why would they?
Not really. And
why would they drop the momentum?
I think people have, because it's been a long time at this point, I think people have forgotten what the NX rumor mill looked like and how long it actually went on for.
Yeah. How long was that?
Because it is different. I was going to say before that I think there is a reason why they are talking about continuing the Nintendo account stuff. Mm-hmm. Like the online features and whatever. Because previously, going from a different system, it has been a strong cut-off point, right? Mm. I think they have learned from the mistakes of before.
Friend codes and virtual console games and everything just being stuck.
I think they've learned, at least a little bit, that customers being attached to their system is a good thing, because they will bring their account. That's a specific thing that you can't bring the console with you, but you can bring the account with you.
Yes.
That's why they keep talking about that. We've seen them talk about it in their financial reports, but also in this interview we talked about before. He mentioned the Nintendo accounts and whatnot. I think it's important. I think that's an important part of where we're at least a little bit going, where we can see that they're trying their best to actually move people into the next system this time around.
Yeah, because that whole thing of a smooth transition, that could mean anything, really. Yes. But yeah, this is true.
But I think that's an important
Switch
part.
Switch was kind of like they were not starting completely from scratch. They had a My Nintendo connection thing. Yeah, but like the parent account. But I think it's true that from here on out, the transition is going to be smoother, because I think also the Switch and Switch 2 are probably going to be more compatible.
I think that they will want to make it easier, because they are in a trickier situation. How do you make people move over to the next Nintendo system without it being a total fucking shit fest? How do you make another system where you have no other part of the business that can keep you up? Like, you don't have a handheld that can prop up the stationary system and vice versa. What do you do? And that's what I'm talking about. But I think people have forgotten about how the NX, how that looked. Like, what happened there.
Yeah, how many years were that?
We'll get to it. Okay. But I think it's important to note that this is nothing like the Wii U. Absolutely nothing.
Because the Wii U was
The
basically
Wii U was
tanking
dead
from
in
the
the
start.
water.
The Wii U dropped December 2012, right? Or November?
Yes,
Late
I think
2012
so.
it was.
Yes. So here's an important thing that's happening. Basically, the Wii U is a fuck up. And the first time we hear, not about the NX necessarily, the code-named Nintendo console.
The things we couldn't possibly know at the time, but in hindsight, you're like, okay.
Yes, but in hindsight, we can see where they were moving. So in 2013, the year Pikmin 3 is released, Nintendo merged their handheld and stationary divisions.
For R&D.
Yes. So basically what we're talking about here...
The guys who make the consoles.
Not only that, but video games as well. Like this is just in general, they just put all of the eggs in one basket.
Yes.
And you're like, curious. Because you have the 3DS and that stuff. But in the background, of course, things are happening. So, the NX, the code name for the Switch, is first revealed to be a thing in March 2015 by Iwata in one of their financial report things.
The fact that even Iwata talked, because he died in 2015 too, so like, even he was talking about it.
Yeah, so I think it's just important to note that it was just basically shown in a little blurb where they have all of their sections, you know.
It wasn't that substantial.
They didn't put a lot of emphasis on it, but they basically put it in different sections, little bubbles, where they showed like the mobile division, their expansions into theme parks and all of that stuff. And then we have a little blurb that just says NX, next video game console, you know.
But isn't that like with a Switch Online financial report where you're like talking about moving on to the next, like wouldn't that be kind of comparable then? Because that's also kind of moving into 2 years.
You would think so, but it's not exactly the same. First of all, the thing you're talking about, the little thing where they showed, it was specifically, of course, about the Nintendo Switch Online account.
Switch Online ecosystem moving on to new consoles.
That's going to move into the next console. It's very unspecific. It's not specific at all.
It was like 2000 something.
The NX had a code name here. Like they're straight up giving you the code name. This is the next thing we're working on. And what's really important that you have to remember about this time in particular is that this is when Nintendo also announced their mobile games. So
yes, I remember people were so concerned about that. Yes, because they thought Nintendo was
gonna damper that, to make people not speculate that they're leaving the console business. They reveal that they are also working on their next Nintendo system, NX.
So it was basically damage control from the get-go.
Not entirely, but it was like, just to make sure, we're going into a different kind of Nintendo at the moment, but don't worry, we're still focusing on the same things. That's basically what happened. And this was in 2015, March. Exactly 2 years before the Switch comes out. We know about the NX. And this starts 2 years of wild speculation. And I think this is very different already from how the Switch 2 rumors are, of course, happening.
And they really just killed the Wii U immediately.
Yeah, they really just killed it. But like I'm saying, it is very different, of course, because we don't even know. Nintendo aren't as open about this
The Wii U was unsalvageable.
Yes. So in October that same year, in 2015,
okay,
we're talking a bit further into the year, rumors are coming out. Wall Street Journal has a report about Nintendo's next system possibly being a hybrid console. But they're not very specific about it. They're mostly like, it has a mobile unit and some kind of stationary thing.
Like a dock.
Yeah, but they don't mention.
They don't specify.
No, it's not specific. It's very.
It's just 2 parts.
It's very unclear about if you can connect it to the television and whatnot. It's a handheld system. It's a mobile device that you can put in some other device, basically.
Which was correct.
They have. Yeah, it was correct. Already in 2015, we basically knew the basics. So in April 2016, Nintendo revealed their plans for the NX is to release it in March 2017. So we're talking like...
They were just giving you the fucking release date before you show the console.
And It was completely true. And I remember this because we followed this so closely.
No, not us two.
No,
it was
not us
before
two.
we met. I was not on the Nintendo train. I was just bye-bye Nintendo by that point.
My good friends and I basically followed this so closely. We were basically like, okay, so just following everything. Because we know in a year...
It was less than a year. 11 months.
Yes. And... Can you imagine? Like, if you don't remember this is like completely different from what we're talking about now. It's so alien. You can really tell how fucked the Wii U was when they're they're just ready to shovel it aside. Of course, they're making games. Very, very admirable of them to keep making shit for it.
I guess you have
to. But they're just ready to fucking throw it off the boat with the cement shoes. Like, go off. And then, in July of 2016, so we're talking a few months after April, when they revealed that we're gonna release it in March, guys. That's what's gonna happen.
3 months later.
Yes. So in July, Eurogamer comes out with their final breaking report that basically confirms everything.
Wait, so did they say final, or this is final in retrospect?
No, but this is the final in retrospect. Like, it's so close and like perfect. It reports on everything that the Switch would become. So in July 2016, we knew basically. Of course, it was still a rumor, but it so perfectly lines up with everything else we've heard before. And they say it is a hybrid console with detachable controllers, important part, right? And you can put the device in what they call a dock. Yes.
That's when Nintendo go, oh, it's called a port.
Yeah, and they already know at this point that it's going to use the Tegra chip.
The NVIDIA stuff.
The NVIDIA Tegra chip, yes. They have everything. And they even have a little patent picture that is just the Switch. So
speaking of patents, I mean, like, when you put it like this makes it look like it was crystal clear. Everyone should just know it.
No, it wasn't exactly
crystal
clear. But
what I'm thinking with 2016, what I actually did see was the weird patent controller, the oval shape that someone then made a hoax fake of. That was what I saw, and I was just like, "What the fuck's this?"
Okay, so that was a little bit before. I was gonna talk about it.
That's kind of what happens because there are rumors.
Yeah.
And there's bullshit.
Yes. And I remember talking about this on another podcast at the time. You can't
know what's true.
Like, we talked about this for 2 years, Kiki, on podcasts.
Yeah.
So you have to know, I've been in this fucking thing. I remember when people said, like, they were trying to analyze and they looked at the screen, the fake picture of it, and they were like, that tree, it looks like a tree outside of Massive Entertainment in Malmö.
In Sweden, yeah. Because, the keyboard had the Swedish letters.
And it's amazing. So they were just like, this looks like the tree outside of Massive Entertainment. And we were talking about it at the time. We were saying, this is not true, dudes.
This is so cute because, like, while I was out having fun with my friends, out and about, you were sitting indoors. It's like, look at the fucking tree.
This was during the time that I was still studying. So
you were studying the Switch rumors?
No, but I was in school. Stop. But it is funny, isn't it? Like, just that what we are talking about. I'm sorry, everyone. We're just going all over the place. But there was a rumored device.
Was there even more rumors?
No. There was a patent basically showing off a controller that had a screen covering the entire.
An oval-shaped controller.
Yes, where the control sticks were basically sticking out of the screen.
Yeah.
And the screen would basically have virtual buttons and all of that stuff. You could basically change them into whatever you want. And that was a Nintendo patent. And people were going with that for a little while. But it never sounded like the true thing. We were always skeptical about that stuff. But someone made a fake picture out of that. And people were going bananas over it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it wasn't true. So a little bit after that, Eurogamer comes out with this real report in
so it was afterwards, okay.
Yes. A few months, I think. It's just a few months. It's not at all, like, they're really close by each other. And this was the one that sounded like it was the real thing. Of course, we're talking now, it's July 2016, right?
9 months off.
Yeah,
like 8 months off.
But the important part is that in October then that year, Nintendo revealed the Switch.
Yes.
So the report is
that was the
really
first
close.
I really heard about that. And I was just like, in half a year.
But so you see...
Little did I know you guys were just...
Yeah, we were...
obsessing over it way longer.
But like, I think this is just important to show in general, just so we remember how wild the transition between Wii U and Switch was. It wasn't straightforward. It was 2 years of wild speculation and just garbage.
Well, yeah, but it's also not comparable because they were openly saying this is a new one. The paper trail, though, was real.
Yes.
8 months before it came out,
it's really
they
funny.
had the specs and everything. That's pretty interesting because whatever Nintendo tells you might be whatever, but there's this stuff around.
Yeah, I think it's also important, like, just instantly when they said the NX, that's the code name. Then we had the first rumor that it was a handheld hybrid. Of course, it's not comparable. This is just wild. Like, you can't compare this shit. However, I think it is important to just look at the fact that maybe we would know a little bit more. Just a little bit. It's possible, but I mean,
it's hard to because there is so much rumors right now as well. If those are true, then they were correct. But we don't know right now. We could be sitting on the oval shape thing right now.
Yeah.
Is reports where, like, in hindsight, you go, yeah, that was bullshit.
I think it's just important to note that how different things are right now, with the Wii U actually being a disaster for Nintendo.
They needed to reassure people there was a new one coming, but I think with Switch, they do not need to reassure anyone there's anything coming.
Exactly.
Everything's fine right now.
But I still think it's important to remember that they still need to build up to that.
There needs to be manufacturing, it needs to be...
But also hype in general. Like, you need to... They need to come out and say that it's happening.
Yeah, you need to...
And I don't think that's going to happen.
Ease up the audience a little bit that this is happening.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a Nintendo Direct where they say, tomorrow we're going to announce this system. I think it's going to be a little bit more... long time. Maybe it would be like tomorrow we're gonna talk about what's next for Nintendo's consoles.
Okay, so what I'm guessing then is that we will know when some outlet just gives us this scoop, where it's not just some speculation or stuff. It's just like, here it is, big fat juicy package.
We want this scoop, but also it has to be a scoop that's not just, hey, we heard a bunch of guys sat in a room at Gamescom and looked at footage. Did they see the console? I don't know, that's not even mentioned. Probably not then. Speaking of. That's what Eurogamer said. Some people we know saw a souped up version of Breath of the Wild.
Wait, so it wasn't even them?
No,
it was just some guy?
No, it was just some other people. We don't know who. It's sources. You have to remember though, Eurogamer, trustworthy source. Because last time they had the scoop on the fucking Switch, what the NX was. Way before, you know? I don't trust them, by the way. VGC then comes out again. And they like, yeah, we heard this too from our bullshit source. I'm being so mean. We heard this too from our sources. But they didn't just show that. They also showed the Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 demo. You know the tech demo?
Yeah,
from Unreal Engine that looks so
5.
wow. So what came out of that then, from VGC, is the visuals are comparable, quotation mark, to PS5 and Xbox Series X. And you know what's really funny about this? This is actually what also happened when the Wall Street Journal first talked about the Switch being a hybrid console back in 2015.
Looking like PS5?
No, they talked about it being comparable to PS4 and Xbox One.
I mean, yeah, if you don't know anything about the specs, you might look at Breath of the Wild and go, oh, is this PS4?
Yeah, that's probably a PS5 game. You know what I'm talking about? I always think that when we are at this point, people would always jazz it up a bit.
It's almost a bit cute. It's like a child is looking like, guys, I saw the new Super Duper Nintendo. Yeah. It had not just 32-bit graphics, it had 64-bit graphics, and Mario was real.
Mario
And they look back and like, yeah, I guess in a way, kind of.
Yeah. I think that this just kind of happens every time. And I think what we have to remember, this could be true. We're not saying it's not true. It's just...
It looking like PS5?
No, that they saw it in a room.
Okay.
Yeah, that they were in a room being showed it. I don't know why Nintendo would show them this system at Gamescom, though.
I mean, it could happen.
It could happen. The human eye is not perfect. So I would say that when someone say comparable quotation marks to the PS5, I think they are probably not correct. What they did see is probably the NVIDIA upscaling thing that we have been talking about for so long. And what they saw was basically really nice footage being upscaled on this fucking thing.
So what's really funny to me is that, like, because if you think about it, you go to a convention and then Nintendo themselves go, hey, wanna see something cool? And they take you to the fucking back rooms. Not those back rooms, like their secret back room. They take you to their secret hideout.
Backrooms.
They take you to their secret hideout, and they're just like, check this shit. Whatever you see, you're gonna be fucking hyped. You're gonna be impressed by anything in that scenario because you're like, I'm special. I'm a little special Nintendo child.
But also, what's really important with this, where we take our little salt shaker and we fucking just throw it around like a motherfucker.
Throwing salt blocks behind our backs.
Throwing fucking salt all over the place. And we temper our expectations a little bit. Is this likely? Probably not. I'm looking at my PS5 right now. They're just about to release a so-called slim model, and it's still bigger than it should be.
The PlayStation 5 that literally does not fit in our TV furniture, so it has to stand behind the TV because it's so fucking big. And Nintendo, famously the company that really pushes the cutting edge specs, are gonna have this shit fit into a Switch size hybrid. Fuck off.
It's so outrageous to me, especially if you're thinking also, is it affordable? Because that's also a Nintendo thing. It's not just about the form factor. It's also, like, they're gonna want it to be small and portable, right? They don't want it to be fucking really huge as ass. And for that matter, fucking pushing a PS5 into a fucking little handheld thing.
Yeah, this is gonna make the Steam Deck look like Tamagotchi in comparison.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, I have so much issue with this because it's not just about that. It's not just about the form factor. It's also about the price. Are Nintendo really gonna push out a system that is so fucking expensive? There's no way.
It's so hard to judge too, because like with PS5 to PS4, like seriously though, like a lot of especially late stage PS4 games, these look like PS5. Like I couldn't tell when they're showing The Last of Us Part 1 re-release, and you're looking at the comparisons, you're like, which one is the new one? When that happens,
that's a PS3 game.
You're like,
no, that's a PS4 remaster.
When that happens, you're like, okay,
diminishing returns.
Looking like PS5 maybe, but I don't know.
Like I said, untrained eye. The eye is not perfect. And if you look at fucking The Last of Us 2, that game looks fucking great, man.
Is it because the Matrix thing was a PS5 demo? Was that because can you tweak that to run on
yes,
on
but
another
that's probably the connection. Because like I said, people make weird statements and they think that they saw something, but it's not really what they saw. When people use it up like this, when they start to be like, it's gonna have PS5 graphics, and also it's gonna have a headset. It's gonna be called Nintendo On.
I'm gonna put a plug in my fucking neck like in the Matrix.
Oh, and it's gonna have...
That's why they had the Matrix tech demo.
It's gonna have 5 million, no, 10 billion castles from Super Mario 64.
Oh yeah, the Nintendo On.
Yeah, the fucking... I'm bringing it back, but that's the important thing. I think that stuff, when you're getting excited, too excited, you just start seeing more of that stuff. That's why I want to talk about the latest news from our good friend Zippo. Bullshit man extraordinaire.
We're really ending on top here.
Yeah.
Just bring us Zippo rumors.
Zippo. So what's really funny
also known as nothing has happened rumors.
Yes. So Zippo is a funny guy because he's one of those leakers, big quotation marks. We're talking bigger than the comparable to PS5 graphics.
Yeah, this is a city block as quotation marks,
Yes,
4 buildings.
It's so big. It's so fucking big, you don't even know. And this guy, basically, he's a leaker. He says things, and then they come true. Yeah, yes. But what's always funny about the fucking rumor mill motherfuckers, it's always the people who report on it. This time, it's, I think, comicbooks.com, which, you know, good source.
Comicbooks.com?
Yeah,
What even? I've never heard about that.
No, they're fucking trash. So the point is, they always when they write articles about these people, it's always like, Zippo, who is known for being right sometimes. Or like, he has been right before. And they never mention how he has been correct. How
has he?
I don't.
I'm looking right now. I found an article, Zippo Switch leaks from 2021. This is gonna be interesting.
So it's like several years.
So this is May 2021. The first thing they bring out is Donkey Kong. So you're really starting a tougher.
A Donkey Kong, a 2D Donkey Kong, and we talked about that last time.
Zippo thinks that this potential new Donkey Kong game will be revealed at E3 for release on the Switch at some point later this year. Fire Emblem.
I guess you can.
That was one of those people we're talking about, so that's just kind of like,
but although,
you kind of taking that from...
if you assume that there is a Fire Emblem being made,
I don't really see
you will probably be correct. That's not a real leak. He also...
he doesn't say a date. He says, is Fire Emblem coming? Yeah. So, wow, good on that.
Good on that.
I'll see here, Mario Kart. Apparently, the new Mario Kart project is not related to existing Mario Kart games like Mario Kart Tour or Mario Kart Live Circuit Toys. Zippo speculates that the project could be anything from more Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC, which it was, to Mario Kart 9. No, to something a little more interesting. One possibility that Zippo throws out there is that the game could be a Nintendo kart game. Dude, if you knew about this, why would you... He threw out every possibility there was.
I think that's really funny. That
so
he's
you're
just
not
like
specific at all.
Everything. He's like, Mario Kart, new Mario Kart thing. Okay.
So Zelda, yeah.
Zelda, it's the long-rumored...
Yeah, something for the 35th anniversary in 2021.
Yeah.
A bundle of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess.
No.
Yeah, and Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 with a planned 2022 release date. I mean, they couldn't predict
also
that.
Here's
so,
the
but
no.
That's pretty fun. This is just a bunch of bullshit. The only thing they had was like Metroid and Mario Party, which
but I don't know.
Was on the cusp of being...
So what does Zippo...
the boy.
Yeah, the boy have this time. So connected to the idea of like just blowing up the Switch, you know, the Switch 2 is, it's PS5 levels of shit. He's like, of course we're gonna get more stuff that is just like plausible, but also inflated a little bit, but also kind of, you know, what you would expect.
You're being really vague, so you can't be wrong.
No,
because a lot of these were like, I guess you weren't wrong about Mario Kart because you said it could be a DLC.
Now, look, he's super specific here, but he says that a new 3D Super Mario game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, yes, that is happening. It's releasing in 2024.
That's pretty soon after Mario Wonder, you know.
Yes, but it is in 2024. It will be an open world game. That's why I'm talking about, you know, bigger.
It's gonna be bigger. And I saw the game.
Yeah.
And it looked me straight in the eye. And I saw the game. And it was an open world.
And it's a day one release coming in 2024. So this is for Switch 2, by the way. It's not for anything else.
Mario's gonna have a gun.
Yeah, more. So I would say, like, what's funny about this to me, partly, is because it is very a safe bet, right? No, because we had Super Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury, where it is an open space, and you look at that and you're like, this feels kind of like they're testing the waters.
Everyone felt really clever, being like, I think maybe the next game will be an open world. It's like, what a concept.
And it's like, Zippo saying this is not very unique. In fact, it is so bottom of the barrel fucking, hey, Mario will be a release game for the next system in the launch window. Like, this is the easiest speculation you could ever make.
New Nintendo console is gonna drop in a Mario game, yes.
If it's not true, then at least it will be like Super Mario Odyssey and released by the end of the year. But since we don't have a Zelda, you probably start the console off with Mario.
The whole open world thing, because everyone always goes like, it's gonna be bigger and bigger, and like the biggest thing they could come up with was open world. Remember the 3D Kirby game and HAL Laboratory
They also said that would be open
HAL were
world.
like, this is gonna be the biggest Kirby game we've ever done.
Yeah,
and people were like,
said,
is it
open
open world? It's just like, no, actually, for them, that was just making it in 3D at all.
Yeah. And I just think, like, when we're thinking about open world, you think of something very specific. You think of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I don't think that's going to be the Mario game ever. I think the open Mario spaces with small courses and such.
Bowser's Fury was a very different sort of open world from
Yes.
Breath of the Wild. I mean, people talk about it already with Odyssey, with like Tostarena
that
being
the
a really
next-
open space. Where like, yeah, you could make like an open world Mario, and I guess you could. However, I think just going from Odyssey to Bowser's Fury, just going, maybe the next one will be open world. It's the most lukewarm fucking take you could ever have. Like, it's been sitting on the...
It is pretty obvious, yeah.
On the kitchen table for literally 5 years now.
That's what I'm saying. It's basically like...
Actually, 6 years.
It's a lukewarm take, but also it feels like one of those where we're gonna blow it up this time. Zippo is just saying open world to mean really fucking big, guys. Because the Switch 2 is gonna be really big. So I just think it's a amalgamation of a lot of different things. An easy speculation thing. Connecting it to earlier statements about when the Switch 2 is coming out. And making it really fucking big and exciting. It's the first time since Super Mario 64, guys, he said, that it's released with a Mario 3D game.
Yeah, that's also really fun. Yeah, because they haven't... The only 3D Mario game dropping on the console was Super Mario 64 and Super Mario 64 DS. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had New Super Mario Bros. U. Nintendo console dropping with a Mario game hasn't really been that big of a thing.
It is pretty likely now, though, since we haven't seen a 3D Mario since...
Dude, it could be anything. It could be fucking Animal Crossing. It could be Splatoon. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What if that's when you get Tomodachi?
Maybe Gore-Tex or whatever they're...
Star Fox, of course.
I was thinking about Gresso and I call them Gore-Tex or
Yeah,
whatever
of
the fuck
course.
they're called. They might be working on a Zelda game for release day. Who knows? Of course, I think Zippo is not real. Even if he stumbled on a real prediction here, where he is correct, I'm still not going to give him the credit. I will never give him the credit, I'm sorry. Unless you have, like, the name and what exactly you do in it. Like a specific thing, like Mario has a cap that can capture things. Not just Mario is an open world now.
You really need to be specific about it, yes.
Yeah, what does he collect?
We talked about this the other day, that, like, for a rumor like this, you would need something like, okay, in this game, Mario has a bike, and the bike talks.
Yes.
So what's really fun about this too is just like the 3D Mario in general, the way those are kind of up the scope since they kind of went back to the open format with Odyssey. And it's just like, yeah, I guess you would just kind of lean into something almost open world-ish by default. I could see someone who's make a straight up argument that Super Mario Odyssey is an open world game-ish. It has just a bunch of
Open
smaller
spaces.
open worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even like a yes or no thing. It's like an, depending on how you look at it thing.
Yeah. It's indicative of the times we're in, where I think we're just gonna see a few blown up things before we get to the actual truth. You know, where it's just like very vague and it's nothing. It's just Mario but open world. It's not Mario has a bike, a plane, and a train.
It feels like wishful thinking. That's what I always come back to with leaks, is that it's always the fan favorite stuff. It's always like the thing fans would want.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's a big scale Mario game and it's coming in 1 year. It's just right around. It's coming, guys. And real rumors and leaks is when you get internal Nintendo conflict. They're trying to release everybody's want to Switch, but it's so bad that people at Nintendo don't want to drop it. And that's true, because that's just harsh reality here.
And then,
some games that you find out in leaks and rumors, there is fucking
or,
everybody want to
or
Switch.
the second one is just basically like, here's a name. That's it.
Nintendo files patent for Switch music. And you're like, oh no.
Switch music, no.
And it's actually like an MP3 player.
maybe you'll come back to this and say like, look, Zippo was right. And then I'm gonna say, no, he wasn't. Even if Mario, the new Mario game, is closely to being an open world at all, and it releases on the Switch 2 next year as a launch title, I'm not gonna give him credit for that. Fuck that.
Didn't predict shit.
He didn't predict shit.
And that's why, when you're looking at the future and you're seeing the most spectacular games you could ever imagine, remember that you should always temper your expectations and just not fall for it. That's a good way to close an episode, don't you think?
This has been a podcast by Kiki and Alicia. We also make videos over at Transparency Boo on YouTube, where we talk about all kinds of different things. For example, we once made a really long video just chronicling all of the silly-ass Star Fox games. Very cool video. It has some gay stuff in it and some other fun things that you might want to listen to. Do it. Thank you. Have a good one.